an incident that occurs in the life of our Savior. I'm going to read it beginning in verse 35. And on that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go over to the other side." And leaving the multitude, they took him along with them just as he was in the boat, and the other boats were with him. And there arose a fierce gale of wind, and the waves were breaking over the boat so much that the boat was already filling up. And he himself was in the stern, asleep on the cushion, and they awoke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing?" And being aroused, he rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Hush, be still." And the wind died down and became perfectly calm. And he said to them, "Why are you so timid? How is it that you have no faith?" And they became very much afraid and said to one another, "Who is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" I would have to think one of the most frightening experiences of life would be to be in a boat or a ship out on the open waters when a torrential storm blows through. I've never had that experience, but I expect that we have some people in this assembly who have, especially if we have some military men from days gone by. I've listened to a few of them tell their stories, and they were harrowing indeed. I'm thankful that I've never had to experience anything like what they have gone through. Have you ever been out on the ocean? I know none of us have. Why did I even ask? And there is a torrential storm that is just raging, and instantly the wind stops and the waves cease, and there's perfect calm. No, because we've never been out on the water in a boat with Jesus. But the disciples were on this occasion, on that day. Now, you back up into Mark the 4th chapter and you see that this has been a day when Jesus has been teaching the multitudes that had been following him. And most of Mark chapter 4, he's been doing it in parables. And he ends these parables, according to Matthew's account of this, by using these words: "He that has ears, let him hear." There was something in what he was saying, something in what he was communicating, that was designed to prevent the problem that the disciples actually experience. And Mark tells us about this seemingly so that he can help us to know, and we won't have to make the same mistake that they did. Let's look at it and see what it is. On that day, when evening had come, he said, "Let us go over to the other side." They take him along. He lies down in the boat. Now, a couple of things I want to draw your attention to here. Number one, why would it be that Jesus is wanting to go to the other side? I mean, he's drawn a huge crowd on this side. Surely there are more things yet that he wants to communicate with them. So why is he going to leave them to go to another area? And I can't really tell you exactly what that would be. Maybe there were folks over there that he thought needed to hear what these had already had opportunity to hear. But there may be another reason. It looks to me like, in the case of Jesus, opportunities to rest were rare. They came at a premium. We have a few teachers sitting in this assembly. They could tell you teaching is a demanding experience. Neil can verify this. Those of us who preached, by the end of Sunday, we're spent. I mean that. It's a whole lot more than just standing up in front of a group of people and presenting something that you've studied. I mean, you have to recognize the fact that there is emotion involved. We believe this. And it's not just that we believe it, but it's the most significant thing in all of life to us. In fact, it means far more than all the rest of the world combined. And we feel the weight of knowing that God has called us to communicate His truth to people who are hungry for His Word. So there is that aspect of knowing that we stand before God in answer to His call, and we passionately love and desire the best for people. You put that together, and by the end of the day, when you've been pouring your heart out, you're really exhausted. And Jesus went through that repeatedly with so few opportunities to really get a chance to rest. I've actually wondered if that isn't why He wanted to be out in the boat, because when you're on a boat, you're sailing across. There ain't going to be a multitude standing around you. When He's on dry land, He doesn't have a minute to Himself. So they take off in the boat, and the storm hits. Here's the other thing I want you to see. These disciples are responding to the teaching of Jesus, to His instruction. He said, "Let us go over to the other side." And they're wanting to do His will. And Jesus is with them. Whatever gave us the idea that by obeying God and having God with us, that meant the storms of life would not affect us? Where'd we come up with that? It's like as long as we do what God says, He's going to protect us and we're not going to have anything difficult to go through. I appreciate so much Zach's comment. Look, folks, there are storms that hit sometimes because our faith needs to be tested. And these disciples were doing exactly what He tells them, and He's going along. And yet they encounter an experience that scares them to death. They're terribly frightened. And they're experienced boatsmen. They've been out on this Sea of Galilee all their life. They know it like they know the back of their hand. It's a great spot. Beautiful spot. It's kind of an oasis in the midst of an arid and barren land. I've been privileged to sail across it myself a number of years ago. It's quite an experience. Beautiful setting. There are cliffs that come down on the north side of the Sea of Galilee. They drop off a couple of thousand feet. The water is as beautiful, clear blue as you could dream of. Oh, it's fabulous right in there. I think the beauty of that compared to the area around it may be why Jesus spent a whole lot of His time there. If you visit that land, you'll understand. But because of the arrangement of the mountains, meteorologically meteorologists will tell you that they can understand the suddenness of storms. There are some valleys that are cut through the mountains, and the wind, if it blows a certain direction, can suddenly speed up, pushing the air above the lake up and creating sudden storms. In fact, the time that I sailed across, and it's only 7 miles across, only took about 35 minutes. We left, it was clear, sunshine, beautiful. When we arrived, it was clear, sunshine, beautiful. But about 15 minutes in the middle, we went through a rain. No storm, but it started just pouring down rain, and then it was gone. That happens, they said, all the time. In this setting, they're out on this Sea of Galilee, and suddenly there is a torrential storm, and they're frightened. And they go to Jesus to awaken him with the words, "Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing?" Now you look at this. It captivates me. Did you notice they didn't wake him up and say, "Lord, there's a terrible storm. Wake up"? Let me see if I can help you understand. One of our granddaughters, when she was just about a year old, year and a half, she fascinated me. She could be down in the floor playing. There could be everything in the world going on. When she got sleepy, she just lay down and go to sleep. Right there. Didn't matter what was happening. She was sleepy. There she went. Right there. Pick her up and move her. Didn't matter. She was fine. Little babies can be that way. Isn't it a shame we lose that? They come to Jesus. They don't tell him, "Wake up, a storm has blown up." And the way they use the different verbs that are in this, without going into any great technical study of the Greek language with you, let me just tell you, what happened is this. This storm blows up. They're getting more and more panicked by the moment. And Jesus says, "I'm going to go lay down and go to sleep." And does. In the middle of the storm. With experienced sailors scared for their life, he calmly lays down and goes to sleep. Now, why do we have the problems in our life that keep us tossing and turning endlessly? The answer is here. They wake him up and say, "Teacher, do you not even care that we're perishing?" They're not going to perish. And the reason I know that is Jesus had said, "Let's go to the other side." The Lord has already promised, has already spoken, they're going to be safe on the other side. So why do they worry about the storm that's occurring as they're getting there?